Hi, and how are you? I hope I'm finding you well, and I hope you've had a fantastic weekend. Now, depending on when you're watching this, if it's Monday or Tuesday, then you can remember the weekend. If it's later in the week, you may well need to think back whether you had a great weekend. So it's Dave Williams here with Weekly Wisdom number 2. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I've actually done Weekly Wisdoms up to 9, I think it was, some time ago. But because of personal things really that have sort of taken over life, they sort of fell by the wayside, so I thought I'd actually start again right from the very beginning. So for this week's Weekly Wisdom, I'm going to be talking about impact. See, you like I are actually impacting people all of the time, whether we realize it or not. Yeah, we are. And it all depends on the type of impact that we want to have. See, impact in so many ways is, if you go into a pond or whatever and you get a pebble and you actually drop it into the pond, you see the ripples float out, don't you? And that's what it's like with impact. And sometimes we realize that we're having an impact, either positive impact or a negative impact, and sometimes we don't even realize. But there's a term that I heard some time ago and I thought, oh yes, that resonates with myself. And it's always, it was along the lines of, no matter what you say and do, people are watching. Now, I must admit, when I first heard that, I thought, oh, that's scary. But the more I thought about it, the more I think, that's so true. See, we're always having an impact on people, whether we think that we are or we're not. And let me ask you a question. So if you go back to your time at school and think about a teacher that really had an impact on you, whether that was a good impact or a not so good impact. But for the purpose of this, let's be generous and actually say it was a really good impact. So it may well have been an impact that happened either when you were at school or not long after you'd left school, or indeed as you became more experienced in life, and possibly you've actually got the dream job, career, and indeed you've actually got a family with children or whatever. So think about someone now. Now, hopefully you've actually thought of someone. So let me follow up with another question. So assuming for the purpose of this, they had a positive impact on you, like I say, either at the time or indeed as you became more experienced in life. So assuming that they did, this teacher, do they know the impact that they had on your life? Now, some of you will be answering yes, and they know about it, and some of you will be answering no, they don't know about it. Now, there's all sorts of different reasons why they would or they wouldn't. But that's the thing. So if they don't know, then why is it they don't know? Now, it may well be that you've lost touch, you've moved away from the area, possibly a different country, I don't know. Maybe they've changed careers, whatever it is. But the purpose of that is the fact that they had an impact and yet they don't know about it. And that's the same for you and myself. We will interact with people, and it may well be a relatively short space of time. It may well be more of an elongated space of time. But the reality is we're impacting people all the time. Sometimes we will get to know. We will get this thing called feedback, whether it's immediate or indeed sometime afterwards, but sometimes we'll never get to know. And that's the thing with people are actually watching and listening everything that we do. And I don't mean officialdom like GCHQ, although that may well be the case. What I mean is in normal life, we are actually being observed, and you, like I, can have an impact, and indeed do have an impact on everyone around us. Now, that may well be professionally in work, it may well be at home with the partner, or indeed with the children. But we're also definitely impacting them either in a good way or a not so good way. An impact comes from people having a different opinion. making a different decision, feeling good about themselves, feeling good about you, feeling as if they want to change something. See, impact can be in so many different ways. And the beauty of it is everyone's different. And it could be something like you've actually done something for someone and they feel great about it and so grateful to you for doing that. Or it could be, shall we say, a misaligned comment or something along those lines where it's possibly misinterpreted and it's left someone feeling a bit flat. But it's still impact. But like I say, impact needs to start with ourselves. We need to be the best that we can be as individuals, and that way we can impact people in the right way. The way that's intended from ourselves. And even when we do that, sometimes, let's face it, communication is so simple, but sometimes it does miss the target, doesn't it? But we need to be the best that we can be. Because when we are feeling the best that we can do, we're just feeling confident, we're just feeling great about ourselves, then that's the easiest way to have a more prolonged, positive impact on someone else. And there's a term that I coined some years ago, and in fact it was 2018, and I remember this specifically, and I'll explain why in just a moment. Always be yourself 100% of the time, because you don't know who you're about to influence. I'll repeat that. Always be yourself 100% of the time, because you don't know who you're about to influence. Now that came about because I did an event in Derby at the time, and it was I was frustrated with a lot of things that were going on in society. So I thought, right, okay, what can I do to actually potentially impact someone's life for the better and give them some strategies that they could use to make decisions to better their lives. So I held this free event in Derby, and I did some marketing towards it, and I had no idea who, if anyone, was going to be turning up. And I just thought, right, I'm going to do this particular thing. So that's what I did. And I had loads of people turn up, 14. Okay, that's 1-4. And like I said, I had no idea who was in the audience, none whatsoever. So I did this, and I did this particular event, and there's 3 or 4 people at the end of the day that stayed behind because they wanted a conversation with myself and give me some feedback. And it wasn't something I'd asked for, but the points that I'd actually shared with people, it resonated. And I also got some additional feedback afterwards. And this is where the reality of this particular term, always be yourself 100% of the time, because you don't know who you're about to influence, came from. Because one of the people that got in touch with me afterwards was a detective sergeant with the local police force. And because of that free event that I did, he then invited me to speak at the police force, which then led to speaking to more police forces. So I ended up speaking to the vast majority of the police forces in the Midlands as far as how to improve your lives and how to perform at your peak because of this one free event. Like I said, I had no idea who was in the audience. But it was just me impacting with sharing some strategies and some information that resonated with that particular person, and indeed several other people as well. And that's what led from that. And that's where, like I said, I coined this particular term, because I was just being me. I was just trying to give information to help people, like I say, no idea who was in the audience. And the knock-on effect was more information came my way, more invitations came my way, which was obviously lovely because I then got the opportunity to impact even more people. So remember I said about the ripples? And that's what happened. The event was the pebble in the stream or the pond, and the ripples that went out. So reality is, from that one single event with 14 people in the event, excuse me, then I probably went on to impact roughly about 500, 600 people, something along those lines. And that's directly. See, for the people that what I shared, it resonated with them, they would have shared that with their teams, with their partners, with their kids, friends, family, whatever. And don't get me wrong, when I say that, I'm not saying that I'm the font of all knowledge. No, far from it. But they would have taken at least one thing away from them. If that one thing was something that can impact them the right way, boom. You know, as far as I'm concerned, it's well worth just doing that one event in Derby. And that's what I mean as far as impact is concerned. So when you think about it, as far as your immediate circle of influence is concerned, and what I mean by circle of influence is the people that you are interacting with all the time. Now, it may well be partner, kids, the people in work, friends, family, whatever. How many of those do you impact in the right way? Now, you may well be sat or standing there saying, oh, all of them, and in which case, fantastic. So are you sending out the right ripples? And that's a difficult one to answer, being perfectly honest. Now, if I spoke to all of those people that would be in your circle of influence and asked them, they would actually give me the relevant answers, obviously. And sometimes we are having more of a fantastic impact on other people than we actually realize ourselves. And I'll give you an example of that. Over the last week or so, I've been catching up with an awful lot of people, and people that I haven't spoken to for a while because taking a chunk of time out for personal reasons. And some of the people that I've never met before, and I'm referring to virtually because everything was virtual for these, but they were getting to know you conversations. And there was two ladies that I spoke to. I'm not going to mention names for any of this or whatever. And again, I'm not, when I share this, I'm not sharing it from an ego perspective. Far from it. I'm only sharing it to give you some examples. And we're in the same groups for a couple of different things. We've had a couple of interactions, but nothing major. So this is the first time we've met, virtually anyway. And two of them actually said that I was an inspiration. And I must admit, I find that really, really humbling, because at the end of the day, I'm just being me. And my philosophy is that, right, okay, I'm awake for X amount of hours in the day, so who can I impact during that time? In a good way, I hasten to add. So sending the positive ripples out, And like I said, I found that really humbling. Now, what I didn't realise is they'd actually been following me on social media for a while. So some of the things that I had been sharing obviously resonated. But I didn't realise that until we had this conversation. And there was someone else that I spoke to that is the other side of the world. So I'm in the UK, so this particular person was in Australia. And I co-authored a book. It's her book, but there's a dozen, 15 other guys that are part of this particular book as well. And I was fortunate to have a catch up with this particular lovely lady. And there was two other co-authors there as well. And as the conversation went on and it came to a section for myself, then she said, oh, can I just thank you? And I was thinking, well, what have I done, And she was saying that when I shared my story the first time that we met, the way that I delivered my story, it resonated with her. So she altered her story slightly, not the information that was in her story, but the way that it was delivered. So it was more impactful. Now, for me, that was really, really humbling, because I've got an awful lot of time and respect for this lady, because what she has done, starting off in Australia, and indeed that's spreading throughout the world, I think is absolutely phenomenal. So for me, for someone like that to actually share that information, then, wow, powerful to hear. And again, it's not an ego stroke. The only reason why I'm sharing that, I can only give certain examples here, obviously. But again, it's me being me. It's me being on point. It's me sharing myself. So being myself 100%. But the impact that we have, we sometimes don't know. Going back to the teachers at school. And that's what I mean by that. So the whole point of this particular video is to suggest that when you're doing things, when you're saying things, when you're writing emails or whatever, think about the impact that you can have on someone else. And it may well be massive, and it may well be something a little small. And one of the things that I find that when I'm sending messages out, and I don't know about yourself, obviously, because naturally the people that we're interacting with is different. But one of the things that I always do when I send a message, especially if I'm interacting with someone for a while, is, how are you? Simple enough question. And the number of times I get responses come back, and like I say, I do this responding to other people as well, saying, thank you for asking, I am, and it's not often people ask me. Now, the reason why I do that is I'm all about people. I love people. Yeah, I'm all about impacting people the right way. And one of the things that so many people are actually missing out on in life is a connection with someone else. This may well sound silly. Yeah, I don't mean to sound woo-woo, but a connection with someone else, someone taking an interest in them. So I'm trying to take an interest in you, via this particular video. And I find that question really, really powerful. Hi, Mary, or whatever the person's name is. Yeah, how are you? Because you think about it, if you meet someone that you haven't seen for a while, what do you normally do? You ask, how are you? See, it's taking an interest in someone. And straight away, just by doing that, excuse me, you can have a big impact on someone, because there are so many people that are going through life right now that feel disassociated with others. We've actually got hybrid working environments, for one, and for many people that's wonderful. But if you're actually working away from an office or whatever, it can also be quite isolating. So to ask how someone is phenomenal. Look, I know someone that he works with his team. I'm not going to say the organisation or anything along those lines, because that's unfair. Now, the organisation I know has actually been through the mill for the last 2 or 3 years in different guises. But he does one-to-ones with his team on a regular basis. I think it's monthly, may well be every couple of months. And one of the things that I hear feedback about, because I know this person and I know an awful lot of the people that he speaks to, is I spoke to X. I had to think about that one, and I nearly gave the name. So I spoke to X today, and he was terrific, because apart from anything else, one of the first things he said, how are you? And see, when you ask someone how they are, because we're, especially here in the UK, the Brits, it's normally a case of, yes, we're fine, stiff upper lip. But he doesn't stop there. And this is where I think this is really powerful. And you can't do this when you're writing, obviously. So he says, okay, that's great, fantastic. So how are you really? And that itself is such a powerful question. Now, I also know that he is a coach as well. So, as in a life coach, not a sports coach. But that second question, follow-up question, is a really powerful one. And the reason why I share that is because he's taking an interest in his team. So he's impacting them more. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense. So my question to you is, who are you going to impact today? And who are you going to impact this week? And the first person I suggest that you start with is look in the mirror. look in the mirror and see how you can impact yourself first so you can have an even greater impact on the other people that you're going to be interacting with either today or indeed the rest of the week. So I hope you found that of interest. I hope you've got some pointers there as well. And no matter where you are, whatever you're doing, have a fantastic week. Have a fantastic, impactful week. And I look forward to catching up with you on the next Weekly Wisdom. So take care, keep on being special, and keep on, like I say, having such an impactful week and spreading those fantastic positive ripples out to other people. All right, take care, look after yourself. Bye now.